Welcome to the Success Journey Show. Let's travel together through the lives of individuals on their road to success.
Hey, what's going on, travelers? It's Ricky Ventures and Marlon Madden, and we're back with you again for another episode of the Success Journey Show. Marlon, what's good, bro? How are you today, bro?
Man, I'm feeling great, feeling fine, like a bottle of wine. I always try to rhyme, but I'm not going to say wine. We don't drink that over here, right? Yeah. How you feeling, Rick?
I'm good, dude. I'm good. For those that were watching live in the green room, check us out in the green rooms too, guys. You know, we're on Facebook every Monday night around 9:30, 9:45. We jump into the green room and do our intro. People got a chance to see how, you know, sometimes things don't flow the way they're supposed to. You just got to do it all over again. So that's what we're doing right now, doing it all over. And just, man, really excited about life, man. A lot of things going on. And with a lot of things going on, it really, I have to really be strict about, you know, carving out time for exercise and carving out time for just being in quiet. Carving out time just to go to sleep. You know, right before the podcast today, man, I just laid down right on my floor. I had a pillow behind my head. Boom, I was asleep for like 15 minutes. Like, it was the deepest 15 minutes I had of sleep, man. And I felt great, you know, getting up right before the podcast, like real charged, man. So yeah, I'm really just taking advantage of a lot more of those times. And yeah, it is what it is. How about you, bro? What's going on in your life, man?
Same thing, you know, just you know, it's funny you talk about that Sunday, and I don't know, we're going to see when we talk to this to our guest that we have coming up, Danny. You know, being an entrepreneur, being a person that's has you're wired differently. Like Sunday, I had to tell myself, bro, you don't have to be doing something.
Oh yeah.
And I'm in my bed. I feel guilty. Like, yo, I should be downstairs doing this right now, or I should be outside doing this. I should be. And I had to literally tell myself, relax.
Yeah.
Just chill, and just let some time pass and relax. Take that moment, and people need to take that moment. Some of y'all take too many moments.
Yeah.
If you know you take those moments, do the opposite.
Yeah.
Right? No, find the time to work.
It's and I hope people don't, you know, take this the wrong way, but it's even to the point where you got to protect your time, right? Yep. So you can't have everyone can't, like, there's so many things that I touch and that we touch that it's always context switching. Like for my 9 to 5, I context switch all day long. Like that's the name of my job. Like I have like 12 clients that I work with. Everyone's doing something different. I'm context switching all throughout the day. I get done with the day before I start the day, because we do stuff overseas. So we're talking to people overseas from like 4 in the morning, anywhere between 4 in the morning to 6, 7 in the morning. We're talking to people overseas, right? And then you do your work day. After the work day, you're switching over again. You're in parent mode, doing activities and sports. But at the same time, you're also working on stuff during that time. And as you see us now at 9:45 at night, we're doing a podcast, right? So it's constantly going. You're getting phone calls all the time. Sometimes you're just like, you know what? I can't pick up this phone right now because I can't context switch right at this moment, right? I gotta stay locked in right here. So, you know, when you're doing that all the time and you don't leave room to just have those moments of silence, those moments of where you're not doing anything, forcing yourself not to get up and move. Like this weekend, like we had opportunity where we weren't really busy. We could have got up and did some other things, and we were like, you know what?
Just chill. Just chill. Watch a show like everybody does.
Yeah.
Like turn on the TV and watch a show. Like that's why I literally have to tell myself to watch a show. And 15 minutes into it, Rick, I'm like, yo, I should be. Yo, I'm telling you,
doing something.
Bad.
You know, it's funny. That's why I don't watch series anymore. Well, during certain times of the year, in the holidays, I will do a series. I will say, all right, let me do a series, because
I won't finish it.
Yeah. Either I won't finish it, or I know it would take too much time, or I'll let it take too much time. So I'm like, all right, let me just watch a movie. Right, here we go. I'm in and out, hour and a half. All right, cool. Now I'm back to work. So
Okay.
yeah. It's just those things, guys, man. I don't know if you guys got that same thing or not, but everyone has their thing on their journey, and I tried to go and play some ball this weekend. I didn't even tell you about this, man. I was killing them. Oh, I was killing them. I was doing a whole bunch of, when you're doing boxing, one of the techniques is shadow boxing. that's how I felt out there. It was only me out there. It was an open gym, and I was ready, dude. I was ready. Had the gear. I was stretched. I get in there just a little bit late, and I'm looking around like, where is everybody?
Nobody here.
Nobody.
Hey, that's time to work it out. I did that last night. I lifted, then I worked out some because I had a bad shooting day the day before.
Yeah.
I had a horrible shooting day.
Yeah, dude. So me and Caleb, we were there because right after his practice, so we were like, all right, cool. Let's put some work in, man. Let's do some work. So yeah, man, just taking some time to build yourself. So guys, man, thank you so much for joining us again, man. Always remember, our sponsor, hitdoctor.com.
21 the net.
21.6 the net. Man, it's exciting stuff, guys, that just life in general. And let me tell you guys something, man. As you can tell, we don't got it all together. We just keep moving.
Correct.
That's what we're urging everybody to do, we're not following a rule book, a game plan, prescribed. One thing we do follow is trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him and he will direct your path. That's it.
Yes, sir.
That's been my model my whole life. And with that, you can't go wrong. I guarantee you on that journey, though, you're going to come through times you're like, what the heck
is going on? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I can't figure this out. I don't know what the next thing looks like. It feels
it's
like
not working like they said it should.
Not work. Oh my goodness, it's not working like it's supposed to. Am I supposed to be doing more? Am I supposed to be doing less? What is it? Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Yeah, lean not to your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. So that's what I lean on. That's what we lean on. And we're happy that we're here in the Success Journey show with you guys today. So, man, without further ado, man, we're going to jump into our guest, Daniel Apke, right after this commercial here. All right. Peace.
One love.
The Elite Swing Trainer from Hit Doctor is a great tool to keep your swing short and compact. You don't need to go to a cage or a facility near you. You can use it at home as well as on a field. My name is Kyle Davenport. I am currently a hitting instructor at Upper Deck Baseball Academy. A common drill that I like to have my hitters do to keep their hands inside the baseball is to go up to the fence and do a fence drill. A lot of times the fence is very hard and it can damage your bat. I love to use this product because it will ultimately replace the wall drill. It prevents them from casting and being long through the baseball where they can only hit pitches that are on the outside or the middle of the plate. It is very adjustable. You can adjust it from any pitch's location between the middle of the plate, outside, and inside, and that will determine how much you keep your hands inside the ball and will allow you to drive the ball to all fields. It will fit on any type of tee, no matter what type of tee you have. It's essential to use this tool because it naturally creates that short path to the ball and long through it. Good. I recommend any player, no matter what level they are at, to use the Elite Swing Trainer.
Hey, what's going on, travelers? All right, we are back at our favorite segment of the show where we bring on a guest. And we bring, as you know, we bring guests from all around the world, wonderful people as they share their stories and their journeys on their road to success. And today, just like every other week, we have another phenomenal guest, and it's none other than Daniel Apke. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, it's our pleasure. Our pleasure. So why don't you start off by sharing with our listeners and travelers around the world just a little bit about yourself?
So I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. So really normal lifestyle, I'd say. I grew up with a family, all boys, 3 brothers, and we played sports growing up. That was pretty much our life. For me personally, I did really bad in school. I didn't get in any colleges after high school. Like I was always fighting, always had tutors. I was on that kind of side of it. So I never really got along with sitting in a classroom and doing that. It just wasn't for me at all. And in the back of my head, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So the first thing I did when I graduated high school I went over to Israel, stayed over there for a year, lived and worked in Tel Aviv, got a lot of startup experience, saw what it really took at that time working with these startups over there, what it took to make a successful business. I fell in love with that passion, with that, seeing that in their passion and their entrepreneurship journeys and hearing about their stories. I always saw myself in their shoes eventually. Came back. I ended up going to college in the United States, got out of college, and I went the 9-to-5 route. Like a lot of your listeners, I was in outside sales, driving up to 1,000 miles a week, going from Home Depot to Lowe's. I was calling on building material customers. So I was selling building materials. So I was just going, driving, listening to a ton of podcasts, trying to figure out what's next. I wasn't happy and I wasn't as fulfilled working for someone else. And I always knew like, what's going to be that next move. So the first thing I started doing was buying real estate. I bought a commercial property. I bought a salon. I started buying, putting as little amount down as I could and then servicing, getting them rented out. And I went down that route. But as a lot of, if any of your listeners know, real estate, traditional real estate like that, it's not going to get you necessarily out of your 9-to-5 right away. It's a journey. It's a little bit of cash flow. So I was looking for something with much higher cash flow that's going to get me out, that I can really live off of. So I ran into a business model called, it was like high ticket dropshipping. So partnering up with US based suppliers. I was selling electric bikes. My company was called Urban Bikes Direct. And I put all my effort and focus into that business. Ended up, that was probably 2017-ish. And I ended up doing really, really well. Eventually I put everything I had into it. Within 6 months, it was doing good revenue, good income. And then I saw that. I was like, wow, I can do this. I can do a bunch of other businesses. I ended up creating 5 to 10 businesses off the bat, all in the online business world. Right.
Wow.
So I just kept going after business because I thought I was outsourcing a lot. I had a lot of employees overseas. And just I was really invested in the online businesses. I had Amazon FBA stores, Kindle publishing stores, drop shipping stores, just different e-commerce stores. And I kind of fell in love with that because the freedom it brought me from a financial aspect and location freedom. I didn't need to be anywhere. So that's kind of the route I went. Eventually I learned what I do now is land investing. I ran into that. Eventually I ended up, surpassing my income from my 9-to-5 significantly quite a few years ago. Got out of my 9-to-5, relocated down to Florida, and have really been invested in the land investing space since then.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it, man. We're gonna have a good time today, tonight, man. Yo, Daniel, man, you summed that all up in like 2 minutes. And I don't know about you, Marlon, but my heart, like everything he was saying was going to transition to the next thing. My heart was just like moving up and down, like, yo, oh my goodness, okay, he's going to this, because I'm seeing like all the stuff behind the scenes of like what it takes to build it up. Like you said, you had, you had like 5 businesses that you had birthed from just the idea of starting your online bike business, e-commerce. And then it's like, but so many people just don't know like what it takes to really build this. Like you're not just sleeping all day and then getting up and working for an hour, or, and then, I have my own freedom back. And then you also said something key, and we're going to dive into all of this, but you said something key in there. He said, then my income surpassed my 9-to-5 considerably. And I moved away from my 9-to-5. So it was like, okay, we got to talk about the timing of that, when that happened, when you decide to do that, and all that good stuff. So let's back it all the way back up, because the thing that really touched me was that you're one of 4 brothers.
Three brothers.
Three.
One of 3 brothers. So that's me. I got 3 boys myself. So, growing up with the sports, they all play some type of sport or something like that. So talk to us about what that was like, just growing up in a house of boys. Right. The age spread, like between the youngest to oldest, like where you fit within that as well.
Yeah.
And then just kind of what aspirations did you have for in life, even just at that age?
Yeah. So I'm the youngest of 3 brothers. It's all about 2.5 years. So my oldest brother's 5 years older, and then the middle one's about 2.5. I'm in actually we're co-founders of the same company, the middle brother and myself. So we're in business together now. And we have been for a long time. But yeah, growing up with 3 of us, I mean, we were always very, I don't want this to sound the right way, but we were violent. We were always fighting. But in a good way, like just wrestling around, fighting, hitting each other as hard as we could, playing football in the backyard. It was always very, very competitive. And I think that's where I got some of my competitiveness, just being the youngest, being the smallest. I was always the lightest. I was outdeveloped by them. They had years on me, so I always had to fight a little bit extra hard, I think, to keep up, because they would have their friends over, and their friends were older, and they'd be hitting me and playing football and tackling harder. So I always had to learn how to kind of step up to that level, especially with my oldest brother, because he was 5 years. The middle brother, my brother Ron, I could always kind of keep up with the 2.5. It wasn't the biggest age difference, but yeah, it was really, that's the one thing that comes to mind when you ask me that, what it was like growing up with all boys. It was just the competitive nature. Like we were just always competing with something.
I know that all too well. Yeah, go ahead, Marlon. You gonna say something?
No, I was gonna say, now you talked about your school and your habits that you had at school. You didn't like school. You was always getting into fights. Now, your other brothers, were they good in school? Because what usually happens is you get compared to, why you can't be like, and why can't you, why you gotta, come on. What do you think he would, you hear that from your parents. So was that going on? Was that the dynamics that was going on, or was everybody just bad?
No, so my brothers were good in school. My middle brother, Ron, was really, really good. My oldest brother was pretty above average still. They were good. They were good students. I think my parents did a really good job overall, especially my dad. I never heard any comparison come out of his mouth, because he knows he's an entrepreneur too. And I don't know, maybe he knew everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. And I think they knew I was always capable. It's just, I just didn't like it. Like if I ever wanted to sit down and do the work, I could. I had ADD. I was always like, throwing something at the kids across the room instead of looking at the teacher on the chalkboard or something. I was just the opposite of that. And they really did a good job looking back, that just letting me be who I was, I think.
Yeah. What's funny is when you hear almost every story of a high level entrepreneur is that they were never good in school, or not that they weren't good. It wasn't captivating enough. Like I could have done it. I could have done good. Like I didn't have a hard time grasping the concept or doing whatever, but I'm just going to sit still, or I was doing this, or I was thinking, man, that's dumb. I could do, well, if this teacher is here and they're making $40,000 and they're here teaching me, well, that's kind of the thought of of the entrepreneur. And then start out thinking, it's like they start out thinking everybody in the room. Now, it was great that your dad was an entrepreneur. What kind of business did he have?
He had it's a carpet cleaning and water restoration business. So we grew up working for him. I was working for him all the time from a very young age. So when houses flood in Ohio, we have basements. Down here in Florida, we don't have basements, but we had basements, and the basements flood. Water gets in them. The sub pumps fail. So we'd go out and we exactly. We would dry them up, get the carpet out, and do that. It was a lot of manual work. So I saw him, the ups and downs. Like I saw it through their sessions. I saw what it took. He had his challenging years. He had his good years that were really well to him too. So I think from that age, I saw just the grind and the grit that it took at times. And I grew up around that. So yeah, just going around, me and all my brothers worked together at that company.
Oh man. That's an amazing experience to have, because a lot of things that's lost, or people just not exposed to when they jump into that entrepreneurial world is just the highs and lows of it. Yeah. Right. And you've been able to see, all right, this is what my dad had to push through. This is where his great time. These are times he had to grind a little harder. These are times where it could have even been times where things were unsure. Right. And just being able to seeing that he weathered through that. Now, when you're going through your entrepreneurial journey, we're going to talk about that, how you went to there. It brings a whole different perspective, because you're not looking at it as, oh man, this thing can't happen. It's more so, okay, what do I need to do to apply myself to keep making sure I'm moving forward? So just like people with a 9-to-5, right? You learn how to work your 9-to-5 from people that have 9-to-5s before you. Like, I hate my job. This job sucks, but they keep getting up every single day and going to the job. Like, so it's just, you learn the habits of what the people you see in front of you.
Exactly.
So, you got out of school. You said, hey, you didn't get accepted to any colleges. College wasn't your route that you were going to go to coming out of high school. And you went overseas, man. You went over to Israel, man. And what took you there?
No one else would accept me, man. No, I'm just kidding. So I was on a trip. to so I went on a trip in high school, like towards the end of the year in April of my senior year. I was 18 years old, getting ready to graduate, and we went from Poland and then to Israel right after Poland. And we were sitting in Israel, I remember, and we had a group. We went with like 30 kids, all are the same age, and we're going in the room telling like what everyone's going to do next year. And it was going around the room, and everyone's like, I'm going to Indiana University, I'm going to Stanford, they all are their colleges. And by the time it got to me, I really didn't know what to say. So one girl in front of me said she's going on a program in Israel where she's going to volunteer, work for startups, do all this different stuff, travel around. And at the time, I'd just been traveling in Israel for 5 days. I'm still there. And we saw how beautiful it was in the country, and we're traveling around, and the women and the food and everything was amazing. So by the time that got to me, I said, I'm going to Israel too. Like, that's how quick I decided in my head. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. So I went back to my bunk bed or wherever, hotel, when we were sleeping there that night. And I told her to send me the program she's going on. And I literally spent like all night just researching that program. And then I knew I just had to come home and convince my parents to go, that I wanted to go there, which was another battle. But that's pretty much how it went. I just was in a space when I was there where I had no clue what I was going to do, and the right opportunity fell to me.
Oh my goodness, man. I can imagine that whole thing too. Like, they get to Daniel Day. He's like, what do you, well, I've been thinking about it long and hard. And I think I want to, I'm going to bring my talents here to Israel. No, that's awesome, dude. So you get over there. I could, when you say you got to convince your parents, I mean, you're already in Israel for one, right? That right there showed that your parents were like, they're open for you exploring with your school and being abroad and things of that nature, which was great. But when you kind of pitched this idea to them, what was that conversation like? I mean, I have some assumption, but we all know you went, so we don't end it well. But like, what was that pitch like to them?
I took it like a financial. I was like, I pitched how much it's going to cost, how I can pay for it. I had the money saved up. That's kind of how I looked at it. My mom was very against it at first.
I can imagine. Yeah.
My dad at first was open, and then he heard how close my mom was. Then he had a conversation. He's like, listen, it's not going to happen, because my mom was shut off from it. So this was like months and months of me. And I think it got to a point. Yeah. Literally. That's how it was. He didn't say that, but his tone of voice said that. Yeah. So it was going back and forth for a long, long time on that subject. And eventually they, once I saw her mind start to change, I knew we were in, so we were good from there. But yeah, it was just, it was a good opportunity. I volunteered, I traveled, I got college credits, so I was able to come back and transfer to a school. That was one of the big selling points too. They wanted me to go to community college here and do all that, but I was like, I can go do this, get this experience, and come back with transferable credits, and hopefully get into a school with a good GPA. So that's exactly. And then I had a good GPA over there because the professors would literally come to our apartments and teach us from there. So it was really like hands-on. Yeah, it was easy compared to what, I was used to. So I came back with a good GPA and could really get into anywhere at that point because they wouldn't look at my high school transcripts because I had the college transcripts now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that's awesome, dude. I didn't really say that they would come to your house and teach you.
It would be like a group of 7 of us. Yeah, we'd sit down and we'd be around a table, and they'd have their little presentation on. It was just they'd just come to our apartments, and we'd sit down and meet with them.
Wow.
Did you think because of you're saying you had ADD, you weren't having somebody coming to sit down with you, and you think that style of learning kind of helped you in any way?
I think so. And then I also think a lot of the classes were on topics that were more interesting to me too. Like, I started focusing on business, and they had business classes and things like that, and I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, the smaller, more intimate settings, I think, with 7 of us sitting at a table going around, actually conversational based learning, a lot of it was really helpful for me.
I like it. I like that. So you're getting exposure to these tech startups in Israel. Now, with my background, if you would have said this before I had that, I would have been like, what are tech startups in Israel? You can do. But knowing that there's a lot going on over there, even to this day, in terms of technology startups and things of that nature, I knew a lot of people that I was connected to that has a lot of startups out there. What was that experience like, just being in that startup world? I mean, you didn't go to Silicon Valley, and it's probably not exactly the same as Silicon Valley, but it's that same energy of development and innovation. What was that?
Yeah,
like?
it was really cool. I saw a lot, and it's more one thing that I learned from that's just it was just such a unique sense of grind that I haven't seen since being there, in terms of just like they were young, they were hustling, and they were just starting their thing, whatever they believed in. And I was around some really, really successful people, like the founder of Waze, the app Waze.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Companies like that, that's out of Israel. Like we were surrounded with, I didn't work at Waze, but I knew the people associated with it, and just being a part of like cultures like that. And it wasn't just one or two of them. It's the city of Tel Aviv has so many entrepreneurs and so many startups like that. I think the biggest thing is just, seeing that grit and grind that they have, and just really, they have their dream in front of them, and they know they can hit it. And being around that type of culture was really contagious.
You know what's funny? I sent Rick this last night. I'm not going to disrespect. I heard somebody say this. He called up his kid while he was on a presentation, and he asked him to, do some calculations on a real estate deal. And he said, man, while you guys are teaching your kids to get A's, I'm teaching my kids to learn how to actually do what they need to do in society. And I think a lot of times when we focus on that A, just that A, your kid could get an A, now you're happy. You don't care how he got to the A. You don't care if he or she understood the actual formula, if they could replicate that outside of the classroom. You don't know anything. All you know is that my kid can get an A.
Right.
But now you're in an environment where you're seeing a lot of people that what they're thinking is entrepreneurship. They're thinking like, I can start a company and I grind it out and I make it, and I can make this company into whatever amount it can. So when you came back to the States, how did you see what was going on here versus what was going on there?
I mean, I'm from Ohio, so I remember when I landed, I was in some serious cultures. Like, it was a real culture shock when you come back, was a real thing. Like, it really was, especially going to Ohio. And we stopped at I can't remember the restaurant. We stopped at a chain on the way back, and I was like, wow, I'm definitely back in America. And, there's a lot of, I'm not ripping on anything. I love America. I still live here. But the part where I was from was not entrepreneurship in that type of way. I mean, you got to realize these people in Israel too, they go to the military or volunteer for 2 years, 3 years after. They all do. Even if you're a woman, you go in, and then they come out, and then they travel for a couple of years. And then after that, then they go to university, and then so they're like 29 to 30 when they're really getting ready for their next thing. And they're very like mentally mature, mentally tough, understand life in a very rounded aspect, I think. Yeah. And I think that's the thing that I learned the most over there that I didn't really see over here. But that's a whole part of them, just, I think, volunteering for their country. Then they travel after, and then they live a very fast lifestyle, but it's also not rushed, I would say.
I mean, that's interesting that you say that, and I never even knew that pattern in which they took in terms of after their schooling and things of that nature. And as I'm thinking about it now, like, you would have a lot of professionals even nowadays in the States where they're not wrapping up school or really start selling until they're 30. Right, 30 is like, okay, now let's get focused. Let's really get the right career, thing of that nature. So, but a lot of times before they're in and out. It's not a program thing where I'm intentionally going to put myself in a place where I'm going to learn. It just happens that way. It's like happenstance, right? Or they go straight through college, then they go to get their master's, and then they go there, and then they're coming out. They're 23, 24. Then they're expecting to get all this money when they come, right? And once they come out and demanding all these high salaries,
right?
It's like, but having no real perspective of life. And then until they turn 30, and then it's like, oh yeah, okay, now I know what I'm doing. So I'm just like, when you're saying all that to me, it's like, if you brought that sequence of life to someone in like high school right now, in a promising, prominent high school that their trajectory is college bound, they'll look like you're crazy. And I'm like, what? 30? Like, what do you mean? I'm not go to college right after? Like, what do you mean? Not go to this right after? Like, wait till I'm 30 to really get my education. And it's just a completely different mindset. So I like what you said. They're not
they're not rushing.
They're on task.
They're rushing. Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you said. Say it again. Yeah.
I said their life's fast paced, but they're not rushed, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Fast paced, but not rushed, man. I love it. So now you're back in the States, right?
Yep. Down in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Yeah. St. Petersburg. Before you went there, you went and you did go back to school, right?
I did. Yep.
Okay. For business, I'm assuming.
Correct.
All right, cool. Yeah. So now you said you went into the 9-to-5 world. Yeah, you got to talk about that, man. Because up to this point, you've seen your pops grinding it out. Now your mom, was she 9-to-5? Like, what did she do?
My mom stayed at home with us. She was a teacher for a while, and then she quit when we were younger.
Okay. All right. Similar to my mother. Yep. Cool. So you see the 9-to-5. You see the mother at home taking care of kids, and then you go and see all these startups, right? And then you come back, go to school, and then you go to a 9-to-5. Like,
yeah.
What? Like,
I got sucked back in by society. Seriously, though.
Trust me, I know the feeling.
Oh man! And you said you were driving around. You're a salesperson driving 1,000 miles a week or whatnot.
Yeah. I didn't. It's not that I hated the job. The job was actually really good to me. It was just I knew it was too easy to get comfortable with that job. First off, like that, it was just, that's what happens. You get in and you convince yourself this is good. And, it's like I had to convince myself to get the 9-to-5, and follow that path. And I had to convince myself to stay and do all this. And it's like, you get you get stuck. You see what everyone else is doing and you feel like you get stuck in the system. And that's exactly what happened to me. Cause I was not wired for that. Like originally I always knew I was going to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And then you kind of hit a low. And I remember just driving at times and I'd be like, gosh, I got to get out of this. Like, I got to get out of this. And you'd hit it and you'd get that motivation and eventually you can climb out. But sometimes, unfortunately, you got to hit that low to make that change.
Yeah, dude. Okay. That we got to stop, pause on that a little bit, because that right there is heavy, because a lot of people are in the routine of the 9-to-5 or whatever they're in right now. And they haven't, I don't know if I wouldn't say they haven't experienced the low, but they haven't gotten to that point where they got to that, made that decision, enough is enough, right?
Yeah.
Enough is enough. I've been saying I want to do so. I've been saying I want to get in shape. I've been saying I want to be better health. I've been saying I want to be a better man, woman. I've been saying I want to be better financially. I've been saying I want to get out of this 9-to-5. I've been saying all these different things. I want to turn my life around, but they haven't gotten to that point where enough is enough. And you're saying here is like, when you hit that I won't say rock bottom, but you hit that bottom, like you hit that wall, and it's like, dude, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. So as your mind started turning and you were sharing how, you opened up your first e-commerce company.
Real estate. No,
real estate. You did real estate. That's right. You did real estate first. Yeah. Real estate first. Talk to us about, you're now, at what age are you at this point now?
I bought my first rental property at 22. So
okay.
really right after, or maybe I was 23, right around 22, 23, I bought my first rental property.
Okay. And how did you go about at 23? You look at it, most 23-year-olds right now, they're not buying real estate, right? They're trying to buy their next, I don't know.
The next Jordans.
Yeah. So what made you want to go into the real estate? What reading you say you listen to a lot of podcasts and while you're driving. Yep.
Yeah, the podcast was a big one. I was a Bigger Pockets guy.
I love Bigger Pockets.
Yeah, Bigger Pockets is good. They got me started in real estate just from listening to them, really. And then I had I was back in Cincinnati and I had good relationships in Cincinnati, and I had people who were investing in some realtors I knew. So I had a good network there to get started in real estate. That wasn't really my plan for my ticket out, though, because I knew that the cash flow, it's just hard to get out in traditional real estate like that. I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
But e-commerce is really when I hit that low and was like, I need to make a change. I got to get out of my job. But yeah, so real estate first, started investing. I still buy real estate rentals today, but that's then I got into e-commerce, and that was like I'm putting all my focus here to get out of my 9-to-5.
Now I'm gonna tell you, we respect e-commerce. Let me tell you, Ricky and I, we have a baseball product on the market, And e-commerce is no joke. The marketing side is, you got to understand that marketing side just to grow.
Yeah.
If you want to 10x, 5x, 20x, whatever you want to do, if you don't understand that marketing side of e-commerce, it's not going to work unless you just have a product that just, one of those products that just shoot off or whatever the situation. And to maintain that, a lot of times you still need that marketing side. How did you, I know that you've been in Israel and you saw the tech startup, but what made you you were building your own, what I said, if you had a building, you had multiple companies in that building running at the same time. How did you choose what you're going to do, and how did you approach it when it came to the e-commerce and the marketing side?
Yeah, I was very open at this point because, like you said, you hit a low, you're like, what's going to be next? So I was just casting my nets out wide. I was listening to everyone and trying to listen to as many podcasts as I could. But long story short, I ended up buying a bunch of courses on e-commerce, on market, like you're saying, marketing, Google ads, Facebook ads. I mean, I was buying courses and I was executing off the courses. That's how I started my business, from courses. Literally, I just started them from following courses and looking at what some experts were doing, paying people to help, things like that. Got some mentors in the space, Mike and Joe Brusco, and they really helped take that e-commerce store off just from their courses and what they did. And like you said, marketing was everything to this. My product, I had good products, but there's also other people selling the same exact products as me. So it's getting in front of more people who are more likely to buy and staying on top of them with your email funnels, all that retargeting. It was all marketing. So yeah, I'm a huge believer in education, not necessarily the traditional way that we do it, but education and advancing yourself for what you want to do further.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So you got your first store, open. You said you had your mentors, had your game plan. Where was your aha moment? Like, man, this is it. Like you already had all your chips in there. You already were fully focused, but even still, I know there was they say that startup curve, right? When you're it's like that hockey stick. You're going down, down, down. It's like, all right, when is that swoop gonna come up, right? So when did you really have that aha moment? Like, yeah, this is it. Let's go.
It went down very far before it went up. Let's just say that. It was hard.
Oh, say that again. Say that again, because our listeners, I know some people that I know.
Yeah, it didn't go up for a while. I mean, in terms of how much work and effort I was putting in and just not.
Oh, yeah.
And then you run into bottlenecks and issues that you just would never, ever expect too. Like that's just a part of doing business. But yeah, I went down. We hit some roadblocks that literally almost put me out of business. I had companies literally that would collect money from them, processing companies. They locked my accounts, and then they wouldn't release the money to me. So I was buying product, shipping product, collecting money that got locked. So I'm just pushing money out at this point when I didn't have that much money. And then I have all this lock that ended up being locked for like 9 months. And I almost got out of business. PayPal took $37,000 from me too and locked it up for 9 months. And I was at a really bad spot. I was working off credit card debt, honestly, at one point.
Wow.
And because I had no other option, I had to ship product out. I had to pay things. I knew that the sales, though, once they were released, that I would be breaking even a little bit. I had good grasp on my financials, I think. But we got through that. It was about 6 months in where I really started to see a turn. And I was doing the first month I maybe did $20,000 of sales. We were losing money though. Second month we maybe did $30,000. Third month we maybe went back down to 20, and then I hit a jump up to 60. And then by month 6, we hit a big jump. We were doing good 6 figures, like low, probably 120 or so. And we were netting, anywhere from probably $20,000 to $30,000 at that time a month, that last one. So I was like, okay, this is what the work was for. Like, I'm starting to see this. I worked my ass off. I would wake up at 5 a.m., roll over. I won't even get out of my bed. I'd open my laptop and fulfill orders from my bedside, literally. and that's like month 6. Sometimes it takes people a lot quicker. Sometimes it takes people longer. I hit a good niche. I really worked hard for it. And it took me about 6 months of actual consistent everyday work, getting through those bottlenecks and still putting it in either way.
So hold on, before he goes too far, we gotta he threw some numbers out there, and we're a big numbers podcast. When people start putting numbers out there, because I don't want the travelers to miss this, okay? And what you said here. So you were talking about your sales going up 21 month, 30, 60, back to 20, all that stuff. Then you said something that most people would have glossed over. Okay.
I know exactly where
So
you're going.
you said you made 120 in sales one month, but your net was around what? 20
to 30,000. Yeah.
All right. So guys that are listening, what's that percentage there? Anyone that's listening, what? Well, I know you're not going to answer to me while you're listening, but that's roughly about 12.
Let me tell you,
20%, less than 20%
times point.
What is
16.
that? 16%. So guys, you got to hear this, man, because I know people that I'm near and dear to, you know, that they see the gross sales and they're like, oh man, we're killing it, man. We should have a whole bunch of money in the bank. I'm like, dude, you know, we only netted 20,000, right? Like you got to understand what it takes to really build a company and what you're keeping, the expenses that need to happen to get more product, to keep operations going, to keep ads, all these different things, man, that you are putting into your business. But it doesn't mean that 16% is not good. It means that it's growing, right? And you got to keep doing the same things over and over to get where you're going. So I'm sorry, Danny, but I just had to stop there real quick because I know that a lot of people heard that just went right out there, one ear went right out the other, because they want to start a business tomorrow, and all they heard was making a 120 in a month.
That's all they hear, and they don't understand about operational costs.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? They don't operational costs. They don't understand it, and everybody's like, and when you talk to a company and they're like, "Yeah, we made $5 million this year," and I'm like, "This, yeah, that's great. How much did you keep?" Because I can make 5 million and spend 404.9, right? So that's how it is, and I'm happy that you did that, Rick. I wanted another aspect that I wanted. Today, I was just listening to the CEO of Airbnb, and he's like, Airbnb is broken, and I have to fix it. So I was thinking about when you were that on every level, they have these CEOs have these challenges, or these people that own company have challenges.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just cave. So I like the fact that you're like, hey, they're holding my money here, so I can open an account and see that, hey, $37,000 should be in my bank account right now, but it's not. Another company is keeping whatever amount of figure, but I can't get to it. However, I still have to do this over here, and I have these credit cards. And what's that feeling inside of you that brought you down the hockey stick until you made that swoop?
It's almost like the lows made me even want it more, I feel like, because I don't know what it is, but that's, you know, you there are times you'll question yourself. Don't get me wrong. Like I was like, am I going to make it another day type of thing? Am I going to be here next month doing that? There's definitely that doubt. So don't get me wrong, but I feel like I wanted it so bad, and I believed it would work. I knew it would work. I felt like I was in the right niche. I felt like I was giving it everything I could. I was in the electric bike industry. I felt like it was going to work. Plus, you got to understand the facts too. So just, you know, when I was in that situation, it's easy to look past the fact that I'm not breaking even, but I'm about to break even. Next month, I should break even. You know, keeping that up. I'm trending up. It's my first month in business. Stuff like that. You can't overlook just because they're holding the money over there. You got to actually look at the root financials once you do get through those things. How's it look? And I think I had to keep that in mind on the future.
I'm telling you, I think you have to be wired just differently and a little crazy too. Like you have to. Sometimes when I'm hearing like Elon Musk talking, I'm like, this dude is literally crazy.
Oh, he's wild. Yeah.
But I'm like, in order to get where he's at, this dude have to think this crazy. To me, sometimes I'm like, man, bro, that's not gonna work. But then I'm looking at myself like, yo, shut up. He has like trillions of dollars, and you're sitting here telling him how he should run his joint. Shut up, right? But that wiring it's different, and I know exactly what you're talking about, because sometimes a deal don't happen. Like even right now, I'll tell you, a deal don't happen, and you're looking at the money that you have, and you're saying, "Oh, I should have had this." Man, that guy. Oh, but then you're like, "All right, let's get to it." And you're like, "Hey, this is when I got to get through it. I got to get through it." So now you're doing all that. You get through it. You're running your company, and then you decide to go into land acquisition.
Yeah, so I eventually put this one up for sale. Also, one thing I do want to bring up too, I always like to think of the worst case scenario. And a lot of times the worst case scenario is really, really not that bad if you're doing things pretty strategically. So the worst case scenario is me, I'm losing, 1,000, 2,000 marketing bucks a month for that business. So I always like to keep that in mind too. Like, what's the worst case scenario that can happen with that part of the business right now when I'm getting through those hard times? But yeah, so eventually I put the business up for sale on a company called Empire Flippers, who's just a broker of online businesses. I put it up for sale. I sold that, but this was all during, I already had my land business starting out, and I started to see the profits with my land business. And that's pretty much what you wanted to know is when I started that. So I started transitioning and seeing the exit phase from my e-commerce business while I was opening up the land business.
Let's talk
And
about
what made you jump into
talk about the exit.
acquisition of selling, right?
Selling off your business. What is that like? A lot of people don't understand that aspect of it. They see, we have my business. This is my baby. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have it until I turn gray. What gave you that? Huh? Yeah, I know. Right?
I said I wouldn't recommend that.
Talk. Talk about that. Talk about that.
What makes you make that decision? Yeah.
So my mentors, Joe and Mike, that I brought up earlier, they're always big on, sell. If you build a business that you can outsource, you have employees, you have the right processes, the money's at the back end. It's like, 17, 20, 25, 30, 50 grand a month, really nice. But the exit sales where the real money's at. And they always kind of put that in the back of my head. So when I started this business, I knew this wasn't the end all be all. This isn't going to be me when I'm 80 years old running this for this one, for that e-commerce business. And I knew that going in, this was a business primarily to get you your freedom. I didn't look at this as a passion project or anything like that. This was to get me out of my job, and I wanted to sell it eventually. So when the time came, I'd had it for a couple of years, showed a couple of years of consistent income, showed steady growth, had my marketing down, had everything down, had virtual assistants overseas, had my operations and everything intact. It got to a point where, and I had a big email list, big marketing funnels, all that stuff. It got to a point where it was a really solid sellable asset. And that's when I considered it. But it was more of, I knew this was during COVID too. And I knew sales were probably peaking, like electric bikes, COVID.
Oh, especially through COVID.
Yeah. So that's when I listed it, was like at the peak of that. It's still doing well today. I still feel very strongly, but I sold it at what I thought was a peak. And also I was mentally going like this with that business. I had tons of other businesses, other stuff I was working on. I started land flipping. All my energy was over there. So I was kind of going downhill in terms of mental energy. And I knew if I didn't step it up, that business would do the same as what I'm doing. So I decided to sell it because of that.
You said something key when you're talking. You said, not that one, not that business. That's not the business that I'm going to be 80 still running. People don't understand. I think people, and I don't want to give that. I should ask a question and let you answer it. But what a lot of people don't understand, there's diversity, right? If you want to have a real estate portfolio, you could diversify your real estate portfolio. You could have one you hold, you could have one you sell, flip, you could have one you rent, right? You could have one that you use for whatever situation. So how do you, what makes you say, okay, not this one, but this one, or have you found the one that you said, hey, I'm going to be the Warren Buffett with this company versus the e-commerce business, electric bike business?
Yeah, I think a big misunderstanding that people have is that you need to love what you do. I don't think that's necessarily the case for most people who just want to get this. Like, you don't love what you're doing now at your 9 to 5. You're going to like it more with your own business. So I didn't really look to connect passion like a lot of people do when they start. And I don't think you really need to. I think there is a grind, you can get through it. But like what I'm doing now so I built the land investing business. I have an educational company revolving around that. I'm building out a tech software around it. Right now, that's my focus. I could be in here for a long, long time, but I'm an entrepreneur. I want to invest in other people's businesses as well. I like to build stuff. So I'm not going to say that's the end all be all, but there might be a passion that comes in 10 years that I have no idea about. It might come tomorrow. Who knows? But I definitely will have more businesses. I don't know. I don't really have one that I know I'm going to have till I'm 80 right now.
There you go. And that's all right. Right? That's all right. A lot of people think that they're building, they fall in love. It's just like I attribute everything to real estate because I'm a big real estate guy. Like they have a house and I ask them, hey, why don't you rent your, they're like, I'm about to move. And I'm like, so rent your house out. They're like, I don't want somebody to break my walls. I don't want, bro, you're never going to come back to this house.
Yeah.
You have a property manager.
That's a good point.
When they break it, that's why you get a deposit. Go and fix it. Like, stop falling in love with this one thing and thinking like, oh, I have to just have this one thing close to me. I'm never going to let it go and all this different kind of stuff. Now, the land, I don't know, Ricky, if you want to jump in on any of this.
You're good. You're good. Yep.
I definitely want to talk about this land investment. Workers through, hey, Ricky and I, we just stepped into your office. We're like, hey, Danny, right? And we walk into your office or virtually, whatever you have. And then we say, hey, we're looking for a piece of land to buy. How does it work?
So what we do, we buy land directly from landowners in the United States. We usually focus on rural markets, one county, 2 counties removed from these metro areas. And we go after rural vacant land essentially. And we go directly to the landowner, the seller, and give them a cash offer essentially through a blind. We send out a lot of mail blind offers. So you'll get a piece of mail, asking, hey, Marlon, I want to buy your 5 acres in Hamilton County, Ohio for $55,000. That's how we acquire our land. Typically through blind offers. That's been the most efficient way we found to do it. But that's what we're doing. We're buying it and then we buy it with our own money or using some sort of other investors' money called deal funding, where we just come up with a profit split and you're not getting a traditional bank loan or anything like that. That's how we really got started. But anyways, we buy that and then we're turning around and flipping it right away, typically. The other thing that we do, that's how we got started. That's how my first 2 years in business were. That's all we were doing. We're just doing that over and over and over again. We're buying these properties at 40 to 50% of what they're worth, turning around and lining them up with the end buyer, buying it and just selling it again. Now, a lot of what we're doing is project-based stuff as well, where we're buying big lots, subdividing them up, just improvement added things that are still pretty simple, pretty easy to do, pretty fast. We're talking minor subdivisions for the most part, buying 100 acre property and then doing, 25 acre properties or something like that. So that's what we're doing. And just splitting on the road, keeping it pretty simple. And then, because that allows us to take that offer from 40, 50%. Now we can offer 70, 80%, still get, 300-400% on the back end return. So that's what we're doing now, bigger project-based stuff. But yeah, just buying and flipping land essentially is what we do.
Man, I love it. I don't know if Ricky, you have any.
No. So as what I wanted to get from you, because I'm getting a common theme, and we kind of mentioned it a little bit. You said you're an entrepreneur, but in that you are a builder. You like to build things up. How I'm trying to say how I phrase this the right way because I can feel it and I know it, but I'm trying to phrase it the right way so our listeners can understand it. How do you just process success in meaning this, right? You went and got the bike, you went to the bike business, and you said you start to plateau mentally and go down mentally. To other people, in their eyes, they would see you as a successful person. You're doing great, man. You get ready to sell this business, and oh man, it's going to be amazing, great exit strategy, whatever it may be. But in your mind, you're like, man, I need to build something else. Like my heart's on something else. Like, I did great. That was wonderful. I love it. Great exit strategy, but I need to build something else. That's what I need. How do you manage that in yourself, right? And I'm struggling trying to ask this question because I struggle with this myself, and I'm trying to contextualize it in a way so people understand it. How do you look at yourself and keep yourself kind of locked in on the process overall versus the moments of what is perceived as success or low moments? Does that make sense? Does that question make sense?
So you're asking how do I stay locked in on the progress over what looks like success?
Yeah.
Now it's a lot easier. So now it's easier because I have a mission that I created, and I'm looking to help create more freedom for people. Like that's my mission statement as a person right now, because I was in that 9 to 5 hours miserable. So a lot of my life right now is about creating freedom for people and helping other people achieve that freedom or whatever that looks like. Maybe they want to get out of their 9 to 5. Maybe some people just want to spend more time with their family and travel, whatever it is. That's my mission, because I was in that bad place to where I know so many others are. And now that's kind of that's the way I stay hyper focused on my path, really. And if something doesn't really align with that path, I'll completely avoid it. If a business model comes to me and it's not on that path at this point in my life, I would just say no. Or if someone has an idea or whatever, or an investment opportunity, I say no to a lot of things because of that. And, when you have a mission so broad like that, there really is no ending. It's not like there's no end game or anything like that. And I think that's the key, is because I can keep growing and keep expanding and doing that. There's not really a level of, business is an infinite game, obviously, as you guys know. So I think just having that mission in front of me really helps align me with that. And it's not like I need to get here. It's not really a numbers game at this point. It's more of a, how many people can we fulfill and how many people can we get their freedom and things like that. I do obviously love finances and making more money and getting that top line for sure. I look at that stuff every day, but having that mission really keeps me honed in on the process.
You just answered the question that why Elon Musk does what he does. So
who's Elaine?
Elon, my bad.
I was like,
hey, he won't fight Zuckerberg. I know he won't fight me. So, so he says, I'm going to build something in space, right? I'm going to build a whole city in space, something that's going to be very, like you said, it's so broad that that mission is infinite.
Yeah.
And by building that infinite mission, now I have something to always, because as an entrepreneur, you build something and you start figuring it out. You're like, all right, get this out. That's why you were the way you were in school. Okay, I got this. Yo, teacher, I cannot sit here and listen to the same thing tomorrow. If you teach this daggone 1 + 1 again, I'm going to throw something at Bobby over here, right? So building that infinite, you just answered the question that made, like, what, this guy want to go to space? Like, what the heck does this guy want to go to space for, to build a city in space? Have a broad mission that you keep your engine going, because it's kind of like an infinite project that you can never, he's going to die trying, right? And for a bigger cause. Just like you said, it looks like a lot of entrepreneurs that are successful, always, they start off with their self. And then once they get to a certain level, they always say, I need to help somebody else, because just me being in here doesn't fulfill me. I need to help somebody else. So you just answered the question. By Rick answered that question, you answering it. You just had me looking like, okay, that's why this dude does what he does. Now, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's okay doing things for money at first. That's what everyone's going to do. That's fine.
Correct.
Yeah.
But you'll get to a point where you'll burn out eventually, and you got to find that greater purpose at some point, or you'll just burn out.
Some point. Yeah. Now, your brothers, how's the dynamic working with your brother, and how is that? Because even though I know you guys were tight, beating up each other in the backyard and everything, so you had to be tight. But for males, we beat up each other and become friends. That's how that's just what we do, man. Right? So how is that dynamics with your brother? How do you guys differ that help each other in all these different projects?
He's definitely more of an integrator, I'd say, in terms of just day-to-day operations. He's better at that than I am in terms of, taking on projects like that on the head, numbers. He's a chemistry guy. He got his major in college in chemistry. So he's more mathematical than me, and we have yes, exactly, and we have different skill traits like that. And when I actually went to him and pitched him the land flipping idea, he wasn't making much money at the time. He was a college basketball coach, D2 down in South Carolina, so he was doing all that, and I knew he wanted more money and more freedom, and that's why I pitched it, because at the time I had some money. And originally when I got into land flipping, I was like, hey, I'll put up all the money. I have money to sit on as long as you do most of the work. And that's how I pitched it to him. I was like, I'll be the investor behind this business. I ended up loving the business model though. And we dove in full force together, and I ended up, selling my other company and just coming in this business 100%. But yeah, that's originally was, I pitched him when he was a college basketball coach, but it's been a great dynamic overall. Our traits, I'd say, we're not the same person from a trait perspective, and we mirror each other well, I think, in business.
Yeah. Hey, that's a great entrepreneur knows who he needs to put around him or her to be successful. And I truly believe that, because a lot of people think like you have to understand every dynamic of the company. You have to understand the wave tops, the high level stuff. But hey, I need somebody who's a whiz at this. I need somebody who's a whiz at this. I need somebody who's a whiz at this, and put them in your team in order to grow. Rick, I know you have a podcast. Talk about your podcast that you have. No, not Rick. You, Dan.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm going to say, dude, we're on the same podcast, man. What are you guys talking about?
Our podcast, it's around mainly land investing, but it's called the Real Estate Investing Podcast. So we talk about a lot of different real estate stuff. We got a lot of good guests on there, and that's we started that really with the land investing space. When we started our land investing company, we started that about a year or 2 years later to help educate people and spread the word of land investing, because really, like, that's what most people want. They want to get that freedom they're looking for. And after all those businesses I had, I realized that this is a great path to get you from driving 1,000 miles in that 9 to 5 or going into your sales job every day, all that different stuff that people are doing. I thought that was one of the best paths, and that's why we created the Real Estate Investing Podcast.
Love it. Love it. Now, if you, just to be respectful of your time here, well, before I do that, where do people find you? Where do people find the podcast? Where do people find your website? Just so they can learn a little bit more about the things that you're doing and what you offer.
Yeah, our website's landinvestingonline.com. I'm very active on social media, Instagram, Daniel Apke, APKE. That's where, I mean, if you want to reach out, shoot me a message. We put all kinds of content on there. All my links are in there. That's a good place to start, Instagram.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Now, one last question I want to ask you here. And that is, we ask all of our guests this: if you can go back to a period in time and you had 60 seconds to talk to your younger self, what would you say? So, and usually pick a time. I usually try to pick up a time based off of the story that you shared. And the time I'm going to pick is when you were sitting down in that room in Israel, when everyone was saying everything that they were going to do. And you had 60 seconds to like just whisper in your ear. What would you say to the young Daniel's son? I'll say.
I was so lost at that point. I'd probably just, pat myself on the shoulder and be like, hey, it's all part of the process. You're going to be all right. Something really simple, and just letting them know, the journey's the journey. It's going to be fine. And because that point in my life, I was just confused. So I'll just reassure me that it's all part of the journey.
Dude.
Hey, Danny, what did they call you, Danny? I don't know. Some people. Okay, Danny. One thing I just looked at your Instagram, and one thing I'm happy about is that we had to do this podcast with shirts on.
No, listen, man. Guys that work out, they know. He picked up the shaker bottle for his water. I was like, oh, okay, it's protein shaker bottle there. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you're serious.
That's funny.
And just quickly before you go, because we said, want to be respectful of your time. Talk about working as a person, just having that body, that physical on point. What does that do for you?
Oh, it's everything. I got, moving your body, getting it in the rhythm when you're not feeling the best, you got to still move. I think health and mind correlate tremendously. Also, like, just, I spend lots of money on just health in general. And I have a life coach, literally a life coach. He is a therapist as well, but he calls himself the life coach, and he's, working from that aspect and coming at me from all sides, from a mental side. Plus I have my physical coach as well. I do jiu-jitsu and martial arts. I think moving the body and staying in shape is very, very important.
Yeah, it shows, man. When you go on my Instagram, I just sent you a friend request. I don't have. I'm gonna put all my take off all my shirtless pictures off, and because I don't want to disrespect me.
No, love it. Well, man, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today, man. This has been very enlightful, and encouraging. This story, man. Me and Marlon, we do this podcast every week, and we say selfishly, we built a whole community of coaches for ourselves, right? Learning, and being inspired and motivated from people like yourself as we're going on our journey as well. So thank you so much for stopping by on your travels, right, to success. And to all of our listeners and travelers out there, I want to thank you for joining us again for another week of the show. Listen, you can always check us out at thesuccessjourneyshow.com. And we will be here next week at the same time, the same place on a Success Journey Show. Everyone have a good one. Peace.
All right, one love.
You've been listening to The Success Journey Show, where your dreams, drive, determination, and diligence are the foundation to success. For more information, check out thesuccessjourneyshow.com. The Journey Squad is here helping you to your destination.